welcome to King of the Rockies. I know I'm happy to be here. I'm sure you are too. This is obviously for the viewers. Let everyone know who you are and what location you came in from.
Okay, my name is Keith. I'm also known as Mokomi, and I flew in from Chicago, Illinois,
Okay,
so a couple hours away.
there you go. So same location as GUA and Soldier.
Yeah, I actually found out just before the event that they were both in the area as well. And
Well, hey, we might have to do some in-person LAN events up there if we can get some more high elo players up in Chicago area.
yeah, that'd be great.
There you go. So what brought you into the AoE4 scene? A lot of players know some of the bigger names, but don't know kind of where you came from. So talk a little bit about kind of how you started in AoE4.
Okay, I was a long time StarCraft 2 player, like basically played it throughout its whole lifespan until like about a year ago.
Okay.
Um, and just eventually, I was like switching into more team games and random, and then eventually just kind of cut it out a bit.
Yeah.
Uh, and then AoE4 caught my eyes. I played that for a while, like near launch, which didn't have like the greatest launch. And eventually, and I stopped playing for a bit.
We've
But
we've laughed. We've talked about a lot of the bugs in these interviews because one of
yeah,
the questions is what was the first Civ you started on as well. So that one
mm,
will kind of go ahead and get that one in the back of the mind. But there were definitely plenty of bugs at the beginning, so I don't fault you for taking a little break for a bit of time.
but yeah, they ironed most of them out, and it got better. I came back for each of the DLCs, but especially the last DLC
Okay.
is when I really started playing again and streaming. And then once I started streaming again, I was playing it a lot more, and stopped playing SC2.
There you go.
Uh,
So I know you from I remember playing a couple team games against you back in the past, back when I was playing with the Devils crew
hmm
and whatnot. And so obviously team games and solos are quite a bit different. I kind of have heard along the chain that it's like, yeah, you kind of started playing more one specifically for this tournament. So is that the case?
Yeah, I was going heavy on team games. They were a lot less stressful, at least for a while.
I'm with you there.
You're able to be a lot more greedy and rely on your teammates a bit more. Um, so climbed the ranks through that for a while until it kind of hit like the high levels where you start getting long queue times so and so I mean it was still fun, but I was starting to like slightly lose interest. But then also with the announcement of King of the Rockies and stuff, I was getting excited. I was already kind of planning to do 1v1s, but that kind of sealed the deal that I wanted to practice and see where I actually stood
Yeah.
because I had
So
actually never played ranked 1v1 until like 3 or 4 months ago.
And I'm sure the viewers out there are going to be shocked hearing that, especially you being here, especially like just pulling up AoE4 World, seeing your name, who you've played against, who you're matching up against, who you're winning against or competing against. It's been a very quick rise for you. So obviously having that StarCraft background comes into play. You got the micro most likely, you got the
Mhm.
ability to multitask all over the place. So what was kind of your first go-to Civ when you stepped on into AoE4?
Well, back in the beginning where I wasn't as serious, I was doing Rus,
Okay.
which was had a lot of the multitasking with the scouts and doing the deer and stuff. Uh, I really liked the Golden Gate back then. It allowed me to go like 2 TC, and my macro was not the greatest, but you just buy what you need to get that second TC.
Golden Gate fixes everything.
So I'm kind of eventually I want to practice the new changes
Yeah,
to that.
gotcha, gotcha. So coming from StarCraft, what was your main race in StarCraft?
For the longest time it was Protoss. Uh, in the early days, that was like the death bally defensive defensive race, which might carry over a bit in my play style.
Okay.
Uh, but eventually, I switched over to play all of them just for fun.
And I feel like there's not many people who are like that from StarCraft. Obviously, some of the higher names have dabbled into some of the others, but it's usually pick one race and stick with it.
Yeah, definitely, especially in the competitive like tournament level. I stuck with Protoss until I kind of wasn't competing anymore, so I was just stream it a little bit, play for fun, basically.
So as you got into AoE4 and starting to compete a little bit more, did you find picking up more civs was easier because you've already experienced kind of dealing with other things already and it's more macro based, or did you kind of have some struggles with dabbling in some of the new ones?
Definitely, with just the low volume of games, I'm still struggling with some of the civs. Uh, but like, and especially in team games, I was like fast castle, like either fast castle or like 3TC
Yeah.
kind of thing. And then in 1v1, that definitely gets thrown on its head a bit. You got to be able to respond in feudal.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you in 1v1s, you scout your opponent going stone, and you're like, I'm gonna all in him. If he goes 3 TCs, he's not a chance. He's gonna have any chance in the world unless you're dropping 3 yourself. So I definitely get that needing to kind of update the game style, update the play from there. So we talked a little bit about kind of where you came from. What about changes now that we're playing on the new patch here? What I think everyone's generic answer has been Roos has been what they've been most excited to see.
hmm
Is that the same for you, or you kind of have some other changes that you're hyped about?
Uh, I would say similarly Roos, but in the opposite fashion, that I no longer have to compete on hunting deer because that was like just one of the like just stressful things really,
hmm
like just being able to like, oh, I scouted the wrong way, he gets more bounty, or trying to last hit and your both scouts are just staring at each other. Like
Yeah, when
I
you
don't like
fake
that.
attack like 4 times,
Yeah.
it's like, oh my gosh, okay.
Um, I was really interested in the Malian changes. I'm gonna want to test that a lot more.
Do you
Uh,
mean the TC one, or do you mean the Musafatis, or a little bit of both?
uh, well, the Griat Bara and
Oh
the
yeah, I forgot
TC.
about see, there's
Yeah,
so many changes, I'm forgetting about some of them.
yeah, like more duration and more effect, I
Yeah,
think. And
I think the
then
cooldown's less too after you use it. I could be wrong on that one.
I don't remember.
Either way, a lot of buffs in different aspects, and I think that was one of the biggest things this patch did was it didn't necessarily take into account a lot of the things people were complaining. Like HRE didn't get nerfed, but instead what happened is they're trying to make it to where each civ has multiple routes to take rather
Yeah,
than Japan's fast castle or HRE's fast. Now they're feudal, and so they kind of changed it up. And I think they did that with Rus as well. With now you can play Kremlin still against some of the more aggressive civs, or you can play greedier with the Golden Gate, kind of play that longer eco game like you were saying of the olden days.
yeah. It's definitely it's a good thing they're doing that because then you can like actually respond to the either the playstyle of your opponent or their civ and just gives you more options. Like I'm excited for the like Abids for instance earlier,
Yeah.
doing the getting the stone in the wood, like just a different option. It's
I
like
was about
very
to say that
similar,
was
but it
really
allows
cool
you.
watching where I didn't even think about it when I read the changes and I was like, wow, that's a really good build.
Yeah, if you're planning to go 2TC anyway with Abids, you can just instantly drop the second TC, drop a mosque, drop the second stable. So you're kind of just like, you immediately get all your structures down. You might be down 7 vills compared to what you could be, but you'll quickly
But you
make it
have
up.
so much tempo. You're not having to go on the wood. You're able to stay on the food gold, so you're building up that bank because again, you're not having to build villagers for the age
hmm
up, and then you get to produce those knights. You get to immediately go grab those relics, and you get that extra TC like you said. So over the course of the next couple minutes, yeah, you might not have had 7 right then, but you might be 10 ahead a couple minutes from there. So I really was that was one of the builds that I was most excited to see out of nowhere when I read the patches, I didn't think about that one at all.
hmm
So that's been one of the already first surprises. What do you think about changes that didn't get added that you'd like to see next? Is there one like glaring thing or just something that you're like, oh my gosh, I'd love if French Knights got 10 extra damage on their charge?
In terms of specifics, maybe I don't know. I guess probably a common complaint, but just I guess just how defensive English is.
So some way to make English a little bit less wall
Yeah.
in and they get to just do nothing for the first 30 minutes of the game type
Yeah,
thing.
maybe their farms are a little too cheap or
There we go.
something like that.
That's a pretty solid one. I'm definitely on the train of nerfing passive income a little bit, whether it's English farms or farms in general as well. But that's definitely a great change. What about civs you'd like to see added to the game? Any
Mm.
specific civ you'd want to see as the next big announcement, especially considering you took a break and came back for some of the DLCs? Obviously, civs new civs are in your wheelhouse.
Uh, I haven't really paid too much attention to the custom civ
hmm
tournaments and stuff that have been coming out,
Yeah.
but so I don't really have anything to base it
And
off
it,
of
it doesn't
other
have
than
to be the
like
custom
AoE 2.
civs. It could just be, hey, I really, a couple of the examples from earlier was Aztecs, Spanish, Korea, I think Vikings, there were Mongol variant, all the random stuff can get thrown out there, but it's one that, if you don't have one, then it's one that just wait and see, let the devs cook and see what they got in the kitchen over there.
Yeah, I did like Malians, so I would vote for that.
Okay, there we go. All right,
Is
so is this obviously competing in StarCraft for a while? Did you ever go to like any LAN tournaments for that? So this is not your first LAN event.
I've actually been to two LAN events.
Okay.
One of them being a DreamHack in Austin in 2017,
Wow. Okay, that's
and
sick.
the other one was a Denver, or not Denver,
Weird.
Detroit Red Bull tournament.
Oh, sick. So, do you think that kind of plays into effect? Maybe have a little less nerves getting on the stage, or you're like, no, it's I still got the nerves there.
Uh, yeah, I didn't really feel any nerves when I played against Puppy earlier. Well, I don't
But do
know
you
if I
think
should
that
be
was
like
because it was
referencing
puppy and you didn't have the pressure on you, or do you think that was just because again you're used to being competing on the stage before?
I mean, it's a little both, low expectations against Puppy, and then also being able to have past experience.
So as far as favorites for the tournament, you getting taken down by Puppy? Is Puppy going to be your call to win it? And if so, what's the score line? Or do you think it might be someone else making the name for themselves? Maybe his
Mm,
brother taking him down.
I'm I've been watching a lot of Puppy and Wham streams and their practice in the week leading up to King of the Rockies.
Hmm.
So I'm still gonna probably vote Puppy Paw.
Give a score line on it.
Uh,
Best of 9.
oh, best of nine? Uh, 5-3.
All right, 5-3. There you go. You heard it here first. And now we're going to talk about your series tomorrow. You're starting out versus Felisberto. So
Mm-hmm.
we all know that he's the Mongol player. He's the Mongol main. So I'm assuming you're not going to let him get that. And obviously, it should be self-explanatory. You're not letting him get Mongols. But is there anything else you're kind of thinking about going into the series? Obviously, maybe a little bit more pressure on the line as far as, a little bit of a even level there.
Uh, Especially it's last life, so if you lose, you're out, and definitely don't want to just go down 2 series and be out of the tournament. So more pressure, but I'm still pretty confident.
There you
Uh,
go.
like I'm still aiming for third. That would be a successful event,
Okay.
but at least I want to win one series.
There you go. As far as the next series going, if you make it past the next round, or do you think you have any sort of rival? Obviously, kind of a lot of the players here are in A, maybe playing during similar timings. Are you playing a lot of these players on the ladder frequently? And if so, is there
hmm
one that you match up with a ton and y'all are crazy back and forth that you're like, oh yeah, that's what I would call a rival, but not necessarily a rival?
Uh, since a lot of times I played at weird hours, and just haven't played that much, I haven't actually played them that much.
Okay.
Like,
Gotcha, gotcha. Well, that is
like,
where now going in tomorrow. You got Felisberto. I haven't fully looked at the bracket on after that on how it shakes out and how it plays, but third's your go-to shot. What do you think you're gonna have as far as the series tomorrow against Felisberto?
in what way?
Just
Score?
what's your score line? What do you think? 3-1, 3-0, 3-2?
3-1
There. Okay,
is
3-1. You give up one game.
my guess.
All right. Awesome.
Depends how the
Awesome.
draft will go.
And then what about you moving forward? Obviously, we've heard you took some breaks, you came back, you competed a little bit, you had a lot of previous history competing. Do you plan on continuing the rise, continuing to grind some ones? I know you said you started streaming more often, so
hmm
obviously we're gonna shout that out and get you to talk about that a little bit as well.
Yeah, I do plan on streaming more 1v1s. Maybe I'll get back into team games as well after the event, but hopefully I'm gonna try to get a more consistent streaming schedule and see how much more I can improve.
There you go. So sweet. So any of the viewers out there, make sure to go check out his stream. Is it just Mokomi?
Yep, just Mokomi. Got in
Easy
there
enough
right and
there.
early.
Awesome, awesome. And then before we go, any last things you'd like to say about the tournament, about people, what people might want to know about you that they have no idea, anything of the sort? Last final words?
Just thank you everyone for hosting the tournament, and it's like really cool to have a LAN in NA, and Denver's a pretty cool location as well. So thank you everyone that supported it, and hope we have some good games.
There we go. Well, hopefully there will be more of these in the future. Hopefully more LAN events, more AoE4, massive tournaments, everything in the sort. Super sick getting to meet people, super sick getting to meet you. And so looking forward to seeing the games tomorrow and cheering everyone on.